On this episode of Crossroads for Growth, we're going to speak with McCracken County Judge Executive Clymer about the city-county relationship and all the joint projects that we have going on together. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining me on Crossroads for Growth. Today I have the pleasure of having Judge Executive Clymer, who has partnered with the city. He and I have partnered together on many joint projects and work together each day. So welcome, Judge. Thank you very much for being on.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I think we can have fun.
We intend to have fun.
We might even inform some people about something.
Yeah, let's hope so. So we hear comments all the time. You and I have worked very closely together the last 4 years. You've served for 6, I've served for 4. I think I got that right. We work together. How would you characterize the relationship between the city and county?
Yeah, I watched it some over the years as I was in a different position in the judiciary, and I saw that there was not a really good relationship. Seems like sometimes over the years between the city and the county. I always didn't understand why that would be, and thought that it needed to be improved. And so, of course, when I went to work in this position, it was another mayor at that time, and so she and I worked closely together as we recognized we needed to. And you and I, when you took the position, have picked that up. In fact, if you remember, I believe we were meeting. We had a point of meeting once a week, scheduled a meeting. We've gotten so busy, I think, that we've not done that. But we meet or talk with each other, probably several times a week now through different boards and all that. And it's just essential that we have a good relationship. And what I like about our relationship as well is that I think we have an understanding that we can speak our piece. I might have something to say that you might not like to hear, and vice versa, but we need to be candid and forthright with each other, and if we have disagreements or whatever, we work through those, and that makes for a strong partnership.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I think it's safe to characterize our relationship as we haven't always agreed on everything. We get that out on the table, and then we move on because we know that the community is bigger than both of us.
That's right.
So.
Well, I told you have a right to be wrong. So,
exactly, I understand. I appreciate that. In working with city government, tell me your perception of the difference between the city and county government. I mean, they're two governments. They're set up for different purposes. They're both very important. But how would you characterize the difference?
Well, of course, you have a lot more employees, and there's more, I think, and of course, I've not been in your position, so I only have the perspective of looking in from the outside, but I think there's probably more activities going on in the city with all the businesses and that sort of thing. You have different functions that are occurring much more often than we are in the county and that sort of thing. But I think because we have a smaller group, that we can be a little more nimble, that we can take action on things. And I guess really maybe the root of it might be because I spent 23 years in the judiciary as a judge, and so I was the sole decision maker. And a judge in a courtroom, got to make a lot of decisions. You make them. Listen to the people and listen to what they say, but then there's a decision made, and that's it. Mm-hmm. There's not a commission to deal with. Mm-hmm. I have a fiscal court, 3 commissioners. You got 4 commissioners. You got department heads. You got all that. It's all got to sift out and all that sort of thing. And so I'm used to being kind of quick to make decisions after I've heard enough information, and so I guess I've carried that into this position as well. And I know you've got a business background. I don't know about that. I've never been a businessman, so I have one perspective, you have another, and maybe that explains some of it.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that's similar or the same for us is that, you know, you have 3 commissioners, I have 4, you know, and so it takes a majority vote, you know, for you and a majority vote for me to get things passed. I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself, you know, that I'm not necessarily always the final decision maker. I've got to make sure, you know, that I have alignment with my commissioners, and certainly that at times can be challenging. You know, trying to get everybody, because everybody's different. Let me move to 911 because you and I worked, city and county worked very closely together. We had some heartburn along the way, but we got it done. The 911 agreement, we're in the process of installing it. You know, we've implemented a fee. That's something that we felt both the city and county felt like we had to do to bring along a state-of-the-art system. Tell me why that was a priority for the fiscal court.
I was a city police officer for 9 years before I went off to law school back in the day. I went to work September 26, 1977 at the Paducah Police Department. I did a year before that in the county police. I was intimately familiar with the need for strong communications. You may not know, I did some drug undercover work where I had no communications. You can't be a drug undercover officer and have a radio strapped to your side. It doesn't work too well. People sense something's awry.
I imagine so.
And so, you know, the communications were really important to me, and saw that it was in a poor state. Saw that the county had, with the city, it had varying agreements and over the years. And, you know, I can't remember how exactly it got kicked off now, but we did come to an agreement that we need to, you know, I think big, and hopefully you can do big, and so we thought big, and we did big. We've purchased towers. We've you know, the whole networking system, the handy-talkies, the car radios, and providing our first responders as they need with the strong communications, and it's expensive stuff. But it's essential to protect both the first responders, the fire, the police, the EMS folks, to protect them, but also so that they can protect the people that they're responding to. And you know, safety is our #1 priority for any government, and especially local. And so you guys got strong responders, as do we, and to be able to accomplish that, to be able to increase their safety, their communications, and that spread out across the county and in the city to better serve the public it was a challenge, wasn't it? But we worked through it. I don't recall us having any disagreements about that. Because we agreed on the end game, and we got it done, and it's a huge accomplishment for the people.
You know, the 911 had been really under the city completely, you know, and we had a sharing agreement, and so we kind of positioned it where the county, you know, you were a customer of ours, you know, and one of the things that I knew, you know, is that in order for you to be a full partner, for us to really be a true 50-50 partner, that the county had to have equal say. And that's something that I constantly would remind my team about, because every now and then you hear this city-county snipping, you know, a little bit, you know, well, yeah, but they're, you know, and I would always go back to this, you know, if they're going to be 50-50 partners, they have to have 50-50 say in everything that we're doing. And I think the way we set up these boards, the administrative board and the appeals board, you know, with 2 appointments from city, 2 from the county, and then 1 joint with each of us. You know, we'll see, but I think it's going to work well. And I just want to say publicly, I really appreciate the confidence that you've shown, you know, to get that project done. It's
a huge win for both the city and the county, and for the people, for the residents
For
of
sure.
the city and county. Yeah.
For sure. Let's talk a little bit about economic development, if we could. We always talk about Paducah, McCracken County, our beneficial location, you know, interstate, river rail, air services. I mean, you and I are working on those things together every day. What do you think makes Paducah stand out to people who come here to our community, look at it, you know, assess whether or not they want to move or they want to be a tourist here? What stands out, you think, to people?
I guess what really drives home the main point I think we have going in Paducah is the amenities that we have, the opportunities, we got all the restaurants we have, all the entertainment, the Carson Center. We're going to have the sports complex coming up. We got the convention center, just all the opportunities that there are within the city and out into the county. And then you can go for a 15-20 minute drive and you're up at the land between the lakes on Kentucky Lake or Barkley Lake. You're hiking through the woods. So we've got a nice blend of both city life and country life. And one thing is, of course, we're kind of almost like a little oasis here. The next biggest area, I guess, would be like to go into Clarksville and Nashville or North St. Louis and that sort of thing. And so a lot of people come into this, into this community either to work or play, and particularly on the weekends. So even though we govern over in the county, there's almost 70,000 people. I don't remember what you have, 24,000? 27,000 people in the city. But that number, triples or more, I would say, at times. And so just a lot to offer. And I think the people here are great. We're friendly. We're kind of the old South, I think, to some extent. And when I go somewhere else, man, I'm glad to get back home. And I think about when I get in the car and maybe I've got to go out to the mall or through the mall area. I'll get maybe a little frustrated because it took me, 5 minutes more than it should have. But when I go to Lexington or Louisville or St. Louis or Chicago or DC and you're just in gridlock, we got it.
Yeah, that's very true. You mentioned people coming in on weekends, but I think we have a great. I know we have a great downtown, and that's one of the things that attracts people to the area, especially on weekends. And we're seeing people from Nashville now come into Paducah to spend the weekend because they want to get away from all that craziness.
Yeah, who wants to be in Nashville?
So they can still get a little bit of a taste of the nightlife, but it's, you can walk, 5 minutes and kind of be anywhere downtown. So continuing a little bit on the theme of economic development, I mean, man, that's something that you and I work on every single day, and we're both on the GPED board, we're both on the IDA board, we're both on the MPO board. People might not know much about, you're actually the incoming chairman of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. You want to talk a little bit about what you think that organization could do based upon our understanding of what it could do for the community? A lot of people probably don't really understand that. We've tried to explain it, but
I guess it's really just a long range and in the 20-year time frame probably of we know what we have now. What do we need to plan for in the next 5, 10, 15, and on out in the 20 years? What's the trends going to be and that sort of thing? And we're going to, as they say, you plan your work and work your plan, and if we can know what that is, it gives us some check marks to go along and meet as we go through to provide even a better community for our people. Roads, sidewalks, bike trails, just just almost every aspect of the community, whatever you're looking at. I think we're open to looking at whatever there is. I go to some of these transportation meetings and learn that transportation people, for instance, say they think the number of people who are going to use cars, drive cars, and own cars is going to be far, far less. I don't know about you. I remember when I couldn't wait to turn 16. I'd get those keys and get out there and get going. And the young kids these days are, with some exceptions, I'm sure, not that much. And I see that they're building, for instance, I learned back a few years ago when I took this job, I was elected this job, that, for instance, car parking lots, where you drive around find parking lots, they started building those recently, back even a few years ago, to where they can be actually converted into apartments or duplexes and that sort of thing, because there's not going to be as much need for cars. There's going to be more mass transit. There'll be driverless cars, as we already starting to see that.
Yep.
Saw that in Phoenix. I thought, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready for a driverless car yet.
Yeah, well, I like driving, so I don't want a driverless car. But yeah, this has an advantage, I guess.
Yeah, the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, one of the things I really hope, is that it makes us close, it gets us closer to the state who helps us plan our transportation needs. Mm-hmm. We don't have to go through other people. We're talking directly to the state every day and having direct influence. And then also I'm told that it'll put us in line for more grants, federal grants. Yeah. So it was an outcome, the way I understand it, was an outcome of the last census. That we grew enough to have an MPO. And of course, in order to retain the MPO, we have to retain our population 10 years from now. So we have to deal with it for a while, but it's a real advantage. And, I look forward to your leadership taking over the MPO. Let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about nuclear. I want to talk about PACRO. There's been, Paducah has been a nuclear city for a long time. We were part of the World War II, I guess, making the atom bomb. We served a purpose during that whole process. We are now decommissioning that plant. That is squarely in the county. And I know that you have been very passionate about that. So talk a little bit about where you think we are with nuclear and kind of how we're going to get, what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm really pumped about it, to tell you the truth. The opportunities there. I do a fair amount of reading about it. I've traveled through the outfit called the Energy Communities Alliance. Sanders gone to some of those. I think maybe you've gone to
just the one here.
Okay, we've traveled all over the country. D.C., Washington State, New Mexico. Around the southeast. Going to Phoenix in a couple of weeks. Nuclear waste management conference there. I'm trying to educate myself. I try not to get down and chase these rabbit holes, but it's so interesting, and the potential for us having that DOE site there. Hundreds of thousands of tons of containers containing a depleted uranium. The interesting thing to me is that depleted uranium is put out there in those huge canisters, and they've been seen over the years as what they was a dangerous liability. What are we going to do with these things? And now the technology has come forward to where we now have companies that can enrich that uranium back to a useful state and supply our nation. In fact, there's enough out there to supply our nation's needs, the whole United States needs for uranium for decades. And so that's pretty exciting. And we have a company who has identified themselves spending a lot of money, millions of dollars to get their, when you start talking about uranium and you talk about the federal government, they're going to get the permits and all that sort of stuff. Millions of dollars for these permits. It's going to take them another probably couple of years to do it, but they've built out an office space here, used Merco, a local contractor, to do that. They're going to go out there. I believe they're going to come. They believe they're going to come, and they will re-enrich that uranium, and it'll be a right here in McCracken County, just right out here a few miles, will be really one of the epicenters for enriched uranium, because one of the things that will do is that will take us out of independence on China and other unfriendly countries to supply the minerals and the mining of the uranium, when we can re-enrich it right out here in our own community. It's going to be strong.
The technology has come forward with nuclear so much now that it's so much less expensive now than it once was, and the technology continues to advance. The small nuclear reactors, all of that. But this, and not to get too much off on a tangent, but artificial intelligence, AI, is using all these millions of computers in order to drive all these computations, machine learning, call it whatever you want to, that, gets us answers at the tip, by just, saying something into a phone. And nuclear energy, we do not have the energy in this country to really process all this energy that's going to be required, to run these computers. So nuclear energy is part of the solution, and I think that puts Paducah in a really good spot. It's one of the advantages.
Yeah, the nuclear, and then we have another company that's not identified, but looking at hydrogen as an energy source, and there's a term called carbon capture, looking at the possibility of out there adjacent to the DOE site of putting in a facility there. Both of these, GLE, $2 billion with a B, capital expense there. This other company, $2 billion, 1,000 construction workers to get the thing built out over a 2-year period for each of those. If they were to both come, 400 or 500 jobs, high-paying, family-sustaining jobs, and so I think that's coming. And I think you build one, more will come. That area out there used to be called Future City. I guess it's still called an area out there. And I thought the other day, that's what that is out there. It's again, Future City.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And we work closely with the DOE people. Joel that runs the Portsmouth and the Paducah plant, work closely with him. He's terrific. All the Four Rivers and Swift and Staley folks that are contractors out there, and 1,000 workers out there and contractors, all pulling together. Got the it's just a synergy there that we're about to really pop that bubble, and it's going to explode out there. I guess that's maybe not a good term to use, but it's going to develop quickly, let's say, and it's going to be really a game changer for our community.
Yeah, I want to make a point for the people out there that might be watching this. In this area, Judge, we've got thousands of people that worked at that plant from the 50s, 60s, all up until when it was decommissioned. Right. And now we have over 1,000 out there working on the decommission. So, every person in this community either has a relative or a close friend that made their living, around nuclear. And I think that the people that have retired, that put their heart and soul into America's really defense system, if you will, which is what nuclear's been, can be very proud of the fact that, they laid the groundwork for what we're doing in the future, you know, and that nuclear is going to continue to be something very important for this community.
Well,
you know.
and just like the technology to re-enrich this uranium is developed, you know, it's been on the market for a while now. The centrifuge re-enrichment, now this laser enrichment is a much more efficient way of doing it. It costs less money, gets it done faster, and that sort of thing. But that same technology that allows for that also is now determined, you know, as in the past, the knowledge, the technology was just not there to understand how dangerous that was back in the day, and we had serious problems with that. Now the science has developed to the point that it can now be done safely, and we know that there's not the hazards that there were before, and so that's one reason I'm excited about it too. Is we are a nuclear community. We've grown up with it, and understanding now that the technology, the science has moved on to where it can be done safely, and then the you know, the residue, the waste from that can be safely captured as well, and so that's strong for our community and for the world, really.
So I know we're gonna go over the normal allotted time here because some of these subjects are, you know, I think they're interesting to me, and I know they are to you, and I think they would be to people. But I want to talk about economic development because one of the things that you and I both hear a lot, you know, is why hasn't Paducah grown any more than it has? You know, I mean, you've got Owensboro, Bowling Green, Henderson, Elizabethtown, you know, all, and you and I work every single day, you know, to try to make sure that, you know, we both put money, you know, into GPED. Out of our general funds every year. We attend board meeting once a month. We see the prospects that are coming and kicking the tires. And what do you think economic development? Where do you think we are with that?
I'm not really too concerned about it because I know these boards are talking about the Industrial Development Authority, GPED, PACRO, all of these boards that are you know, economic development related, and we're all involved with them. We've got such smart people on there, and they're knowledgeable business people, different you know, backgrounds and that sort of thing. We put all those heads together. I'm confident that we're doing all that we can do. I can't think of a thing that we could do that we're not doing to try to develop that. And you see big winds coming over, you know, east of us in the Central State and Hopkinsville and stuff like that with the battery and all that. You know, I tend to think, the more I learn about the nuclear, I tend to think you guys can have your batteries. We're going to have nuclear, and nuclear is the future. It's not, in my opinion, from what I've read and what I've been told by people who know much more than I do. I know enough about it maybe to be dangerous, I guess, but I'm getting myself educated to where I can understand better, and these travels and all that. And I just think that really. Of course, I can't speak to how much effort was put in before 6 years ago because that's when I started working on it. But I know we're busting it now, doing everything we possibly can. And we do have those projects lined up. We've had multiple projects that have come to look at us, and some of them just weren't a good fit. The economics was not good. You know, I'll go ahead and say it. This last U.S. government administration was not conducive to businesses. These are multi-billion-dollar businesses. They need to eliminate risk as much as they can. You see some of the things that have gone on in the last 4 years, which is 2/3 of the time I've been in office. I think with the new administration, the opportunities and the investment in growth and new energy, the hydrogen, the nuclear, is going to pick up, and I think we're well positioned to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I'm very hopeful as well, that the new administration is going to drive more opportunities for us. I mean, there's been a lot said about electric vehicles, battery plants popping up everywhere. We haven't gotten one. It seems like we're just far enough away from the manufacturing site to be not quite as efficient transportation-wise than somebody else. So, but I agree with you. I mean, we are, like you said, we're kicking it every day. I mean, we are busting it and doing everything that we can to get businesses in here, and we're going to hit one. We're going to hit a big one, and we continue to have just some regular growth. I can't close without talking about the sports park. And I have to say publicly, I give you a lot of credit, you and the fiscal court, for leadership on the Paducah Sports Park. That kind of happened right before I took office, the genesis of all that. And so when I got into office, you came to me and said, we've got this, big opportunity, and of course we didn't know that at that time it was going to be a $40 million project, and it turned out that it was quite a bit more expensive because of COVID and a lot of other things. But you've been a proponent of it. You've been the person that has talked about it a lot, and tell us, why you think that's so important for the community.
Well, when I came into this job, I didn't know anything about soccer. I recognized a soccer ball. That's about it. But I went out there, I said, "Look, where are our kids playing soccer? I hear about this soccer all the time." I was a basketball guy, so, and I'll tell you
That was a few pounds ago.
Well, yeah, about 6 pounds ago. So went out there and drive out here to the landfill, and I remember that landfill. I guess you probably do too.
Yeah.
I remember taking stuff and dumping it out there. Got this huge hill
I sure do.
Alongside of the landfill. That's where the soccer fields are. Man, you got to be kidding! What is this? And so I set my mind, and I talked to the guys back then that were the commissioners. Said, we're going to do something about this. And it wasn't too long after that, it seemed like, that I got wind, saw on the news or something, that the Bluegrass Downs racetrack, horse racing, harness racing, was going to shut down. And oh man, look at that! What a place for a sports complex, for soccer fields and all that. And so I picked up the phone and started searching around to find who to talk to. The long story short is got a hold of a guy with a company named Vici in New York City. They're on Park Place.
Wow.
Like the Monopoly game, Park Place. That's the most expensive piece. Well, that's where they are. And so I got this guy on the phone and told him who I am, and said, "You probably don't even know, but you own some acreage in Paducah, Kentucky, shutting down the Bluegrass racetrack there, and I want to get it. I want to put our kids on, put a park in there with AstroTurf for baseball, softball, soccer." And they said, "It sounds interesting. Let me look into it." I thought, well, I'm this guy from Paducah, Kentucky, and they're in Park Place in New York City. I'm Green Acres, and they're in New York City, and so. And a few more conversations off and on, this sort of thing. And I remember I was with Mayor Harless at some TVA function somewhere in Knoxville, perhaps, and the phone rang. What the hell is this? New York City. And Judge Clymer, this is so-and-so. I didn't say I wanted them to give it to us. I didn't want to pay anything for it. We're going to give you that property. Oh, my God.
Wow.
Expensive. You couldn't tear down something to build a better location. Joins the Greenway Trail. It's right next to Noble Park, next to that landfill that we've put a track around. And so anyway, they donated that park. County had to buy a little bit of property. In addition to that, it was owned by a fellow named Steve Shaw that used to live here. He gave us a good price on it, and that was the genesis for it, and I remember coming to you and saying, let's do this thing. I had to work on you a little bit, but you came around.
I don't remember. I didn't remember it being that hard, but whatever. We got it done. We got it done.
And it's just going to be a huge win. The city's thrown Stuart Nelson Park in there. I think it's important to do there's some people who are concerned that Dr. Stuart Nelson's identity with the park is going to be lost. That's not the case. There's no concern there. As that park had said, it's Stuart Nelson Park. It had the name, and there was a plaque about this size that talked about Dr. Stuart Nelson. Instead of that, we're going to put up probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 tribute in there, a plaza, whatever. It's not yet been designed, but we're going to keep the city's Stuart Nelson Park part of this park identified as the Stuart Nelson segment or section, and then the Bluegrass Down section will be different, but they're just all going to be one park. So it's just a huge win all the way around. Tourism, this travel ball thing is just huge. We're going to bring people in here spending their money, but the other thing is we're going to provide our kids that were playing soccer on a landfill a state-of-the-art all astroturf facility. They can play soccer if they want to in the rain or right after a rain, play it in the cold. They're not going to tear up the turf, and it's just going to be a huge asset. I think one of the very top few assets, right up there with the Carson Center and the Convention Center, as assets for our community.
Yeah, you know what's great to me is to see the businesses sprout up, in anticipation of this. So, we talked about, we have a new hotel going in downtown, but there's 3 or 4 hotels that are in the plans out there closer to the park. And of course, you got Atomic City sitting there, that really is, I feel like, in a good spot to benefit. He's got a piece of land there next to him that he'd like to, put a hotel in there as well. Yeah. One of the I think you've been talking to the same person I have that owns a car wash there on Park Avenue that, invested millions of dollars in new equipment in anticipation. So it's really great to see, the additional investment that goes in there, from a business perspective, and increases our tax base.
Yeah, it didn't make Chip Wynn mad that the entrance to this park goes right beside his.
That's exactly
car
right.
lot.
That's
of course,
exactly right.
He built out that antique or car showroom across the road from his lot, and so I see him all the time. He says, thank you.
Yeah, what do they say? Location. So, Chip and a lot of other people are in pretty good spot. So the final thing that I want to talk about a little bit is the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan, by state law, every 5 years, I believe, we have to, the city and county both have to look at their community, look at where housing is, look at where commercial establishments are, and kind of think about the future and what the community is going to look like. And then we have to pay a consultant. They come in, they have community meetings. They try to get input from people, and then they come back with a plan. And of course, we have to agree to the plan, and then publicly, we have to adopt it. And so I think, we're talking about doing that later this month in a joint meeting. But when you look out 10 to 20 years, where growth is going to take place and how the community is going to shape or be reshaped. Is there anything that stands out to you? I mean, a part of town, something that you see that people might not be seeing,
Well, I don't know if I'm seeing things others aren't, but I am looking, and maybe they're not. But I think it's going to be, just like we said a while ago, the future city is going to be a future city out there. People like to live close to their work. There's some nice land out there, nice communities out there. There's a lot of farmland. I think we're going to see housing shoot up out there. Some temporary housing, maybe even some small homes. I guess you could call them the tiny homes, but small homes, mobile home parks perhaps, because when one of these say GLE comes in, that's 1,000 construction workers. A good number of them are going to be, because of what it's going to pay, I think, it might draw from within our community, people that are already here. They might move from the job they're in to that, but it'll also bring people. There's not 1,000 construction workers that are going to come from right here. They're going to come from other places, and the housing is going to be a challenge. And so those developers, I think, will be looking at building housing out that way. The housing, people like to eat from time to time, and so there's going to be maybe a grocery or two, that sort of thing. Perhaps filling stations. Just the support businesses that come up around a huge organization like that, and it's going to be more than just that. We're going to build the Riverport West out there. That's going to be under the Paducah McCracken Riverport to bring more traffic still off the river and into the triple rail site. It's going to be booming out there. Good paying jobs, and I think that's where the growth is. Of course, you've got the city. There's not a lot of open land in the city. Right. The open land is in the county, and I think that's where you're going to see a lot of change. Yeah.
No, I agree with that, and one of the things you did mention, of course, is the airport. We've got this, and you and I are headed on a trip next week. To try to interview some more airlines. That's very important. We've got, by anybody's opinion, we've got a state-of-the-art airport terminal. We've got plenty of gates. We've got, it's a beautiful place. It's very comfortable, and we need more passengers, and we need the right airline or airlines, plural, to come in here and give people confidence, that they can get to where they want to get out of Paducah. And it's the job of community leaders to really try to do the best we can to find who that might be.
Yeah, I hear people talk quite a bit about that. Of course, the people that have good experiences don't go around bragging too much about, hey, I had a good trip, good experience. It's the ones that don't have it that, tend to spread the bad news of when they have some delays or flights canceled, that sort of thing. I remember when I first came into this position, I had to fly to Chicago several times, and it seemed like every time I flew to Chicago, I'd have a delay or there'd be bad weather. Chicago was just a bad place to be at all to me, but to fly in and try to fly out of. I like the Charlotte airport that we're currently using, particularly if you're going to go, to D.C. or go south into Florida, that sort of thing. I have trouble wrapping my head around flying to Charlotte to then fly to Phoenix.
I think a lot of people have trouble wrapping their head around that.
And so it would be nice to have an alternative, an additional flight. I think to do that. Maybe it would be to Atlanta, or maybe it'd be on to West or Houston or something like that. But we just got off a Zoom call. Now? 2 hours ago, and we got this trip planned. So there's just so many wheels in motion, so much. I didn't realize that McCracken County, and maybe, I don't know if you realize in Paducah, there was going to be so much work to do. And I think after 6 years now, I thought, surely at the pace we're going and all we're getting done, things have slowed down a little bit. But it just seems like the more you do, the more there is to do. And work generates more work. And I'm not complaining, because it keeps me busy and keeps me active, and I like staying busy. I like the challenges. That's one of the things that's great about this job, and to live in a community like this and to be in a position where you can make decisions and lead to improving the quality of life for your neighbors here is just a real blessing to me, and I'm sure it is to you. And just I've got some grandkids, I know you do too, and I think one of these days I'm going to go lay down and say that's all I want to do. I want to go play a little bit maybe while I still can move. And so, but to know that you're making your grandkids and just whoever in this community a nicer place, I have that in my heart that that's just something I want to do, and I'll be satisfied that I've accomplished something by doing that. I don't care about who gets the recognition, that sort of thing. I know the same way. You want to get it done and be able to see that you've accomplished something, whether people recognize who did it or not, just see them enjoying it. And I want to be out there at that sports park when it gets going and watch the kids playing. You can't play soccer and hold an iPad at the same time, they tell me. And so I think that's good.
Those are very heartfelt remarks, and they really hit home for me because, I just recently, this morning I spoke with the Leadership Paducah class, and I was talking about, legacy, and really, I know you feel the same way. We're not working for money. We're not working for, personal recognition, but we are working for our legacy, and our legacy is that, we made an impact. When we left something good behind, and I think both you and I both agree on that, and I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. We've had a good time.
It means a lot, and so I just want to tell everybody I want to thank Executive Judge Craig Clymer for joining me today, and thank you, all of you all out there, for joining Crossroads for Growth.